My name is Kevin Krüger. I'm working as finance and banking lead, as just said, at TLGG. TLGG is like on the one hand side, a communications agency from day one since I think 2008. So one of the first social media companies in Germany, or agencies in Germany. And from that, we developed into a management consultancy, where it's all about the question how technology, how digitalization is changing the business models of big corporations in Germany, in Europe. And we have an office in New York as well, so we do America as well. And yeah, my daily work is basically concentrated on financial services and banks. So I wrap my head around questions like how banks are going to evolve in the future, where their business model is aiming at, where future value pools will be, and how to address them, and also, of course, to find new target groups and new customer groups that they are currently not addressing or failing to address in their cohorts. We see loads of developments pointing out the weaknesses of the actual blockchain. Right now, the blockchain and Bitcoin is more of a container of value. Some people say it's the gold of the digital age. So it evolved from like the initial idea of being then a financial system or a payment scheme where people can send value through the internet, to now being like the founding pillar of the whole community, and being a currency or a value vault for the digital age. In 2008, when more or less the founding father, which was an anonymous, or which is an anonymous person, founded or put out a white paper about blockchain. He came in a time where the financial crisis was at its peak, and his intention, and I encourage everyone to read the white paper. It's quite interesting. And he was there at a time where he gave the world basically an alternative, a permissionless, trustless, peer-to-peer alternative to exchange value in the internet, which was not possible before. And at that time, his wish, or as he pointed out in the white paper, is to give an alternative to the people, and also to use it as a financial system to exchange value, and not being dependent on the centralized institutions such as banks. And this was kind of like the birthplace of the whole blockchain trend and frenzy as of now. That took a couple of years, from 2008 until now. The technology became more mature over time, obviously, and it came out of the whole nerd, I would say, corner. And couple of different things evolved from that. And one big development is basically DeFi, which is decentralized finance. And Web3 was all about writing and reading the internet, basically. So that was all about it. The last 20 years, and the blockchain and its technology and its infrastructure and its dApps that are coming with it gives us the opportunity to actually own something digitally, which was not possible before. And a counter world to the centralized world, where banks and central exchanges basically own the customer interface and are the middleman within this world. And one big development, which was Ethereum, made it then possible through, on the one hand, being a cryptocurrency, but on the other hand, having a programmable cryptocurrency, as you say, the smart contracts, which made it possible to actually program things on a network. And most people say the Bitcoin is kind of the gold of the digital age, and the Ethereum blockchain is kind of the internet of the digital age, or of the age of value, of the internet of value. That's the biggest critic about the whole topic, that it is basically backed by nothing, just technology. So it's not completely true. There are different kind of cryptocurrencies that are then backed by something, which would be stable coins. But initially, that was the biggest critic about the whole topic. Which were then also the whole evolvement about CBDC, so central digital currency, that states then became aware of the whole situation and became active in emitting their own digital currency, because these private or decentralized currencies became so popular. On what are they based? They are based on a decentralized network, and there are different consensus mechanisms, such as proof of work or proof of stake, depending on the protocol, that make it possible to validate transaction on decentralized blocks. It's manifold. I think most people obviously come for like the fast dollar, and to invest in something that get them rich quite quick. And me myself, and I guess many other people paid a lot of paid a lot of money for like experiencing that, and being wrong about different protocols. So I think that is not something that people will stay in this ecosystem for the long run, even though it is maybe the initial motivation of joining the ecosystem. I just think, and when you dive into that topic, the whole decentralized finance ecosystem is just a very interesting development, and for me personally, it makes so much fun to be a part of it and to use these protocols, because it is basically a copy or a better version of our current financial system, where you have different protocols giving you different services. On the one side, so you have lending protocols, you have exchanges you can use, and the efficiency, from the efficiency side, the efficiency of, for example, these exchanges are amazing. These decentralized exchanges make with 45 people in their team, maybe a couple more in their development team, approximately 500 million in volume a day, whereas Coinbase, for example, does 2 billion, so a fourth, with like 1,200 people. So just from a business model standpoint, it's quite amazing to see these businesses or protocols thriving and being so efficient. But one other motivation I would think being quite interesting for users, as the whole, I would call it X to earn trend. So it's not only that you can bet on cryptocurrencies and betting on their development in the future, but also participate in protocols if it's through NFTs or something else, that you can actually provide a service. Either it's gaming, for example, or it could be learning if you put out a service to a protocol or to a community that you are a member of, that you can actually earn money from. So the whole gaming trend is very much in the news currently. The whole Axie Infinity hype, where people can actually make a living from gaming, is, I think, quite interesting, and a whole new perspective on the one hand side to earn money from this whole ecosystem, but on the other side making a whole new world of creators in a broader sense, to monetize their skills and putting it out there. Still got a chance, I think, and many European banks and international banks are looking into this topic since many years. So they are already figuring out their role into in this ecosystem. My opinion would be they are not going to build any decentralized protocols or anything like that, like the decentralized exchange or anything like that. But looking on the investment side, where banks are investing their money, it's a lot. So the biggest basket is basically custody. So banks are investing first of all, and in the first place, into startups and companies that are innovating around crypto custody, which is, I think, the entry point for any centralized financial institution to access this topic, either for retail investors, but also for institutional investors. And I think their role will be breaking down this very complicated world into a nicely looking front end that retail investor that don't have a master in finance or spend 5 years in the ecosystem can access and can take out the advantage. So I would say this is the role of banks, breaking it down, bringing it to the masses, and taking a lead on that. And on the other side, the whole regulation topic is, I think, at least here in Germany and also in Europe, we are at the forefront of crypto regulation. And you can see in, for example, Switzerland as well, which are even more on the forefront and front running this whole regulation topic. It's not something that will stop this development, and especially the whole DeFi world, that are decentralized protocols. It's hard to regulate them anyways, because it's decentralized. It's not that you can then call anyone on the hotline and say, I want to regulate you. So it's quite hard for them, and I think they will always front run and find opportunities to exist and offer their service. But I don't think regulation is necessarily a bad thing. I think it's very important to have a good regulatory frame where companies that are interested in being in that space can have a safe haven and develop new companies and new protocols and new startups in this ecosystem, which is, when you look at Switzerland, a very flourishing industry and can be an advantage for a whole country. Which we can connect a little bit to my hypothesis that actually people can make a living out of that ecosystem to provide any service. And it's Yearn Finance, where you can follow different investment strategies. So you invest, for example, Ethereum. The Ethereum gets exchanged through MakerDAO to DAI. The DAI gets staked somewhere else. So it's quite complicated, but people actually putting out investment strategies, they get audited by the team and get tested. And when your investment strategies are live, you can actually make a living from it. So you can get some transaction fees from actually people using your investment strategy within the DeFi context. And as I'm concerned, it doesn't take a lot of coding knowledge or anything like that. So this is really something, if you have a good strategy to earn some interest or some interest on the cryptocurrencies, then this is definitely a good example. On the other side, I would say lots of people having staked stable coins where they can get an interest from, and you also see that from or your hypothesis from Coinbase, where they offer interest-bearing investment opportunities, basically. So you stake your cryptocurrencies. They can use it for any other services, either it's borrowing or lending or an exchange or anything like that, and you get an interest on that, which I think, coming from like the financial services industry and advising banks and financial institutions, this is something that is never seen before in terms of product innovation. So this is a whole new world of product that you can offer to your average retail investor, and Coinbase is already starting it, and many other companies will follow. And I hope when I do my job good, many other banks will follow as well, to offer these services to their retail investors or retail customers. But today, I think the world is just too complicated. You really have to dive in, know the in and outs. Scammers are everywhere, and it's not something you would offer your common retail customers the service. So I think the role of like financial services institutions in the future has to be breaking down these protocols and breaking down these services into easy to use front ends, which are protected from scammers and protected from the whole quite confusing sometimes way of accessing these protocols. I'm not so much a fan about like personal hardware drive, but that's I think a personal question, how secure you really need it and how big your funds are. I would guess if I would have a couple of 100 millions, I would starting using it as well, but to just have something safe on the side. But I think in general, it's also quite connected to the whole financial institutions or centralized authority question. So this is something where you can really see uninformed customers or uninformed users losing their money through non-custodial wallets is just bad, and I think there is an opportunity for banks as well to offer a service that is just safe and safe from like losing it. From a security standpoint, of course, the cold wallets, so a USB stick where your wallets are saved on, where your coins are saved on, is the most secure one. I think the most established wallet or custodial service is MetaMask. I really love it because it's the platform where you can access the whole DeFi ecosystem through the browser and can connect your wallet to any protocol you want to use. And it's I think as far as I'm concerned, and as far as you're not giving your seed frame to anyone else, it's quite secure and safe. The truth is still there, but the custody system is your entry point into the blockchain or into the infrastructure. And when you lose the key to the door, it doesn't matter if it stands on the other side of the door that you have 100 million. If you can't access this room, it's impossible to get your hands on your money. So I just think it's custody is just like the entry point to enter the ecosystem. And when you lose the key, you lose the key. It's gone. That is one big aspect of the whole discussion currently, and me myself, I got, for example, I got scammed a couple of weeks ago, because they get better and better, and it's also on Google. If you Google some protocols, the first hit on Google is a scam, for example, for some, and it's quite tricky, but as long as you don't give away your seed phrase, it is definitely secure. If you use any protocol that is not secure and they get access, or your wallet gets corrupted, then of course it's quite dangerous. But there are also coping mechanisms or coping strategies to not having your whole funds being exploited by scammers. That is, for example, you can open different accounts, using different accounts for different purposes, such as I, for example, have a Mint wallet where I just put my money for the whole NFT game. And when that is getting corrupted, I don't lose all my cryptocurrencies. I just lose the wallet that I use for the minting. But definitely it is not something for the masses to not have a service provider that you can call to get your passport back, or your money back in the case of a centralized financial institution. In the case of proof of work, it's the miners that are basically competing for one transaction, and the miner that can solve the let's say a quest the fastest will get the transaction, and can mint the transaction into the block. After several transactions, the transaction is really in the blockchain, and it is accessible by everything. So it's one common truth everybody can access on, and this is really the cornerstone of the blockchain. On the other side, you have also a consensus mechanism that is proof of stake. There, it is not about the time that you can solve the quest of putting down the transaction. It's more about your current stake into the protocol. So if your stake as a miner or as a validator is quite high, the probability that you will get the transaction to validate it and put it in the block is then higher, and these miners get rewards. It's transaction costs, it's gas fees, which is called in the Ethereum world, which is for the miners and the validators to make these transactions and to make this work for the community and for the network, basically. So everybody can have one common truth about what is in the network, and what kind of information are true, and what kind of informations are not true. They get paid in Bitcoin, and they get and that is basically the biggest problem of miners currently and forever, basically, because they are earning a digital currency, a cryptocurrency, but their energy costs are most probably not within the cryptocurrency world. Their costs are energy costs in fiat money, so dollar, euro, whatever, wherever they are in the world, to validate these transactions. And this is one of the biggest challenges of miners in the world, to have a good scheme to in the business model to pay the bills, but on the one hand side, and on the other hand side, to be able to profit from the whole development of the cryptocurrencies. And this is, I think, the biggest risk that comes with it, is the volatility of most of the coins. I think after a while and through the last year, there came out loads of blue chip coins that are not as volatile as many others and are more established than others, but especially altcoins are so volatile. It's always said that it's environmentally not very friendly, and I think it comes down a lot to the consensus mechanism I was referring to. So either it's proof of work, which is very energy intense, because many validators or many miners are competing for the same transaction, and that takes a lot of energy, whereas proof of stake and many protocols are moving to that consensus mechanism is not as energy heavy as proof of work, as it but it also has its downside. So it doesn't have only upsides in terms of energy. And but on the other side, the broader discussion about this topic is when you compare it to, for example, a financial institution with employees, with everything that comes with it. I would guess, and I would say, and there are studies out there that point out that the energy consumption of that is nothing in comparison of established financial institutions, and also when you compare the transaction volumes within these protocols, it's getting quite obvious that they are not wasting energy, but are actually quite efficient with what they are using. I think we come from a world where centralized platform made space and created a space where we can trust each other and transact. But now through blockchain, as it is permissionless, so everyone can access this. It is trustless, so we can trust each other on the blockchain and exchange value without knowing each other or without going through any KYC or what is necessary in the centralized world. And on the other side, it's peer-to-peer, so we don't need any middleman that is helping us with the transaction. So this is really the cornerstone of the Internet of Value. And on the other side, this brings us into a world where, first of all, everyone becomes an investor, basically. Whereas in the private markets, currently only VC or professional investors have the opportunity to invest in innovative startups or anything like that. In the crypto world, you can become a VC yourself and invest in interesting protocols and in interesting business propositions you trust in or you believe in or you find interesting. And also the whole NFT and gaming trend, whereas NFT is a non-fungible token that is showing the value or the scarcity of one element. It can be a photo, it can be a video, or anything else. This is really the starting point of having digital goods that are connected to a certain value. And when you follow the whole NFT space, it is crazy how this is evolving and bringing us to a world where digital goods can have a certain value and we can trade them, and it's intercomposable and interoperable, and it's quite amazing. And on the other side, why it's the Internet of Value, it's not only the whole native DeFi world, but it's also the technology gives us also the opportunity to bring real world assets into this world. So the whole tokenization topic is very, very interesting, and I'm looking into it a lot. where you can take an artwork or real estate, which is a real asset, tokenize it, bring it on the blockchain, and make an illiquid asset class very, very liquid. And with the whole tokenization topic, fractionalization is coming with it. So from one day to the other, it's possible that you get a share of a Banksy or anything like that. I just saw last week a Web3 company that is fractionalizing a Banksy, and you can buy one of 10,000 NFT that is representing one share of the Banksy, and you can have access to it. You can be a collector of very, very expensive art, and this is opening up a whole new world through or for retail investors and normal people, because it was not possible to invest in these kind of assets before, and now it's possible through this technology. That's quite interesting, and also the biggest challenge when bringing real world assets into the digital world. In case of the Banksy, they solved it through founding a foundation where the actual Banksy, the real world Banksy, is getting into, and there's an agreement that the foundation will never sell it. So the actual value and the value representation is only through the digital NFT. But there are also other initiatives or companies that actually burned the real one, and there's only the digital one then. So they just erased the whole question of what's happening to the real one, which I think it's complete useless and senseless to burn nice art. And I think the governance with the foundation together is a nice idea to build trust, and giving it a governance where the actual painting can have a home. And in the example of the Banksy NFT, you actually own 1 square of it, and the 1 square is 1 NFT that could be a coordinate on the actual painting, and it has utility as well. So the foundation will have it in a museum, and you will have, for example, free access to the museum, and can look at it and can say, like, I'm one of 10,000 that owns this Banksy here on the wall. You can copy the Mona Lisa and hang it in your room as well, and that doesn't mean you own it. And this is really bringing it down to the truth, where technology basically represents your ownership, and in the case of NFTs, it represents not only ownership, but only an ownership of a certain kind, let's say, with different aspects, if it's a photo or if it's a video, and what are the characteristics about it. So I can put a CryptoPunk, for example, as my profile picture, but that doesn't mean I own it. You own it when you own the NFT, and the NFT then is again represented in the blockchain, and only when you own this phrase, you can be identified as the owner. We can determine ownership, not value. Like the ownership is through the code, the ownership is through your wallet. If you own and that is why it's a non-fungible token. It's not a fungible token that if you have one token, you can distinguish them from each other. It's one of a kind, and nobody else has it, and it has its own characteristics in it. And the ownership is basically proved by you having it in your wallet or bought it, for example, at a marketplace like OpenSea or anything like that. It is first of all a revolution on the infrastructure, whereas like the Web3 companies were all about the front end and making it quite easy for the end customer to access their platforms and access their services and building trust between certain parties. The whole cryptocurrency and blockchain movement is all about infrastructure, and I think it will take some time until other companies will adapt to it. Whereas you can see already in the startup scene or innovation scene, loads of companies are not starting anymore with a centralized platform or infrastructure. Loads of companies are just starting with a Web3 infrastructure. And also the whole ecosystem is evolving over time. So it currently, there are some use cases that can be realized through the blockchain as of now, because, for example, transaction rates are not high enough, or performance is not high enough, or security not, but different criteria can't be met as of now. The whole industry 4.0 use cases are very, very interesting. Also machine-to-machine payments and everything there is very, very interesting, and we are just at the beginning of the whole development. Definitely, I think, as what we've seen in the last 10 years, it will evolve in the most in the most proficient way, and I'm really looking forward following it.